Hey everyone, it's Shelby here. Welcome back to A Little Literary Love. I'm glad you're with me today because today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I have read so far in the month of June. This should be hopefully a pretty quick wrap up of the books for the first half of June because I've only read 5 books. I don't know, I've been reading a lot slower lately. Not all the books I've been reading have really been like pulling me in. I've also been distracted with a bunch of other things. I've just doom scrolling on social media, which I probably need to not do. My daughter had a birthday, so I was busy with like birthday stuff. And now that it's summer, it's starting to get a little bit warmer out. So we've been outside a lot more, like going and swimming. So I just haven't had as much time for reading lately. But before we get into all of those books, please, if you haven't already, if you like this video, make sure you're giving it that thumbs up button, and also subscribing if you haven't already. If you enjoy my content, I post videos every Thursday and Sunday, so make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I do post a new video. And yes, welcome. Thank you. Also, before we get to the end of this, make sure you're commenting down below about some of your favorite books that you've read so far in June, or what books are you still hoping to read in the latter half of June? What books are you hoping you can get in before the end of the month? I love hearing from you all. I usually put that at the end of the video, and I know not all of you stick around to the entirety of the video, which is okay. But we're going to get into it, talk about these 5 books that I got to. I didn't write a ton of like notes down on these books. So we're just going to see how it goes. I'm just going to wing it. So the first book that I read in June is going to be Bourbon and Proof by Victoria Wilder. This is the third and final book of the Bourbon Boy series. This is a contemporary romance / romantic suspense. This one is about the last brother. He is the oldest brother of the of this family. They own a bourbon business in Kentucky. And him and Hadley, who's our female main character of the story, she is best friends with the middle brother. She has her own like speakeasy club that has like a burlesque dancer at it. And her father is a really bad guy and owned like this horse racing kind of business. But he's currently under like house arrest. So these characters, you find out in the story that they've been pining after each other for years, but because of certain circumstances, which it does go into, but I'm not going to spoil that for you all here, they cannot be together. But now, Ace's grandfather, he is trying to like just kind of wrap things up because he's getting older. He knows he's not going to be around for much longer. And so he's like retorquing his will in case he dies, and so that the company that is his gets distributed to his grandsons. However, he makes a stipulation that it can only go to his married grandsons, which he's kind of doing a little bit of like nudging on Ace because he knows that Ace has a thing for Hadley, to kind of like force his hand to make them get together because he knows that they should be together. So they do this like marriage of convenience kind of thing. They do get married together, number one, so that Ace can get a part of his father's company, but then also, Hadley's father is in a lot of debt, and a lot of the people that he owed money to are now starting to hound Hadley for her to pay her father's debt. So they get married also to help protect her. And this is just wonderful. I gave this one 5 stars. This is definitely my favorite of the series. I have been shipping these 2 characters from the get-go when they first popped up in book 1. So it's been a very long awaited relationship to bloom, and I loved it so much. I loved how much these 2 characters adore one another. I loved how protective Ace was of Hadley. I love how Hadley is one of those characters that she is a very strong, independent woman, and she pushes his buttons and she does what she wants. She says what she wants. And I loved that about her. It was so good. I loved that. So there's also a little bit of daddy kink in here. It's fantastic. I definitely recommend this series. It was so good. I still maintain that it is very light on the romantic suspense. So if you're new to reading romantic suspense, I think this is a great series to start with. And it also just has great characters, the sexual tension. It's such a fun ride, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I read Allured by Van R. Som. This is the first book of the Love and Burlesque series. This is a contemporary romance. This is a male-male romance. One of our characters in this story, he is a burlesque dancer, which I love that. And then our other male character, he is a professor. He is finishing and finalizing a divorce. These two characters end up meeting at a dinner / party because our burlesque dancer also sometimes does like catering every once in a while. And they end up meeting and immediately are hitting it off and are very attracted to one another. And then our professor guy ends up coming and seeing a show because his friend, I believe, friend or a sister, somebody, is getting married, and he is like, I think he's the designated driver. I don't know if he's in the morning. I don't know. Anyway, he goes to a burlesque show, and again, they hit it off and they start texting one another, and that just kind of starts like their relationship. This is really cute. I gave it 4 stars. This is one of those books that it's a cute and steamy story. Like their relationship was really adorable. Yeah, it's very low angst, I feel like, too. It's just one of those like cozy stories. So if you're in the mood for a spicy but cozy kind of story, this one might be a good one to check out. Then I read Feathers from the Sky by Jess Wisecup. This is the first book in the Hunting Vengeance duet. This I have actually read before, so this is a reread for me. I listened to it on audio, which I feel like is probably the best way to go. I mean, you can read it like physically too, and it's fantastic because it's a great story. But I really loved the audio for this because it is duet style. And I love that. So this one is a vampire hunter romance, enemies to lovers. It is like a contemporary paranormal romance. Our male main character, Roman of the story, he is a vampire, and he is like plotting to take Gwen, who is our vampire hunter, sort of. Because his brother has gone missing, and she is a like descendant from this like long line of like hunters. And so he thinks that she has something to do with his brother's disappearance. So he is planning on like seducing her and getting under her skin and getting close to her to try to find out what she knows. He ends up kidnapping her at one point. It's so good. I gave this 4.5 stars. I gave it 4.5 stars the first time I read it. I'm currently reading the second book right now, and I'm loving it. I'm so excited to see the conclusion of this story. This one does end on a cliffhanger, so you're in luck because now the second book will be out, so you can just dive right into the second book and find out what happens. There's so many different like twists and turns in here. It's very steamy. There's lots of sexy times. Like these characters think each other are very attractive. They are very drawn to one another, which kind of throws a wrench in their plans, because they are enemies. She is a plus size character, and I loved that. There's also mental health representation in this one because Gwen is very depressed. It's so good. Then I read Shadowed Obsession by Evelyn Lee. This is another romantic suspense story. I did get an arc of this one. This one is about our family main character. It's kind of like a mafia adjacent story because her family has ties to the mob, or kind of is the mob, but she is trying to go more legit and make money in a legal way. So she has moved to Texas because her family owns some sort of alcohol business. I can't remember if it's whiskey, something like that. And they're trying to branch out into Texas. So she's in charge of helping that branch or whatever. And she's trying to acquire like properties for them. So there's this rival company that doesn't want her to get certain property, and they hire our male main character of the story, who is a private investigator, to dig up dirt on her so that they can kind of blackmail her into not acquiring a property that they want. So he starts stalking her in, I mean, I guess it's a legal way, sort of. I don't know. It's like technically for his job, but he very quickly becomes very enamored with her and starts doing things for her. Like he starts leaving stuff in her house. He starts messaging her. And they kind of have this like banter going on between text messages. Yeah, so I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I wanted to arc read this one because, number one, I love this cover. A beautiful big black woman. I think it's gorgeous. And I had heard so much hype for this author's first book that she wrote, which I think is like elevator pitch, elevator something. That one got rave reviews. So I had pretty high expectations going into this one, and I was just left kind of disappointed in this. So I don't know if my expectations were too high. I just kind of felt like things were very odd with this story. And like the pacing felt a little bit off. It's just like they very, very quickly fall for one another and are very quickly okay with one another. Like she doesn't have much of a, as much of a problem as I would expect by having somebody stalk her and like leaving stuff. Like she does end up, there is an incident that happens with a gun, but I don't know. It was kind of lacking a little bit. I feel like I just wanted more from this story than what I got. I kind of wanted a little bit more depth too. I don't know. It wasn't what I was expecting. I do want to try her other book, The Elevator, whatever it is, and see if I like that one any better than this one. Because maybe it's just like the genre that she was writing, because this is supposed to be like a dark rom-com, and I feel like sometimes dark rom-coms just don't do as well. Like there's a certain way to balance both the comedy and the darkness, and I just don't know if this author succeeded with that. I think this author is also planning on writing a sequel to this story, which I might read. I don't know. And then the last book that I have to discuss that I read in the first half of June is going to be Chasing the Wild by Elliot Rose. This one is the first book of the Crimson Ridge series. I wanted to read this one because it is an ex's dad romance, and I love that, and I wanted to read it for like Father's Day. There's age gap in here. It's just, I've heard so many good things about this story. This book, or this series, has actually gotten picked up by a traditional publisher. So it is going to be re-releasing like I think in maybe September. I could be wrong on that. So, if you liked this indie cover, you might want to snatch it up now. I do think I want to read the rest of the books in this series. So anyways, so this one is about our female main character. Her ex, she's trying to become a vet. So she's on her way to I think it's kind of like an internship like site to finish her degree and become a vet. And so she's on her way, and she finds out that her ex has taken out a loan in her name and has not been paying it. And so they're calling her to pay this. And she does not have money to pay this. So she's kind of derailing her plans just slightly and going off to find her ex, because her ex is not answering any of his phone calls, not responding to any texts. But he had left her an address for her of where he's going to be staying. He's staying with his father up in like the mountains in Colorado or Wyoming, somewhere out there. And so she's going there to try to find him and figure out what's going on. So while she's going there, there ends up being this big like snowstorm, and she ends up getting stuck there because it's up in the mountains and there's only this one road to get there, and it's too dangerous to try to come back down. So she ends up getting placed there. His son is not there at all. And it's kind of like that forced proximity there too, because since she's stuck there. And so her ex's dad, who is there, he owns this ranch. He's like, hey, I'll employ you right now so you don't have to worry. You can kind of continue getting your hours that you need. And you can just help me out on the ranch while we're snowed in together. But of course they have the hots for one another. And because her ex is an idiot, and it's a sexy, fun time. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this one. This is like my first Elliot Rose book that I've actually enjoyed. I've read 2 other books from this author, and they were just not necessarily for me, which I feel like this does have an issue that I found in some of the other books that I read by this author. I did feel like this book was slightly too long. Like it's 430 pages or so. I feel like this would have been fine as like a 300 to 350 page book. I feel like it was just a little bit too long. The steam on this is very high. There are lots of steamy scenes, which I really like my books to be pretty spicy and have a lot of steam to them, but I also kind of want them to be like purposeful, and I like variety in my steamy scenes. This just kind of felt like we were getting the same steamy scene over and over, and it didn't necessarily do anything with moving the plot forward, or with the character development of their love story. So that would be my biggest complaint of this story. Otherwise, I enjoyed these characters. It was forbidden. It was sexy cowboy. I liked the characters in this one. So I did enjoy this, and I do plan on continuing to read this series. So that is going to be it for my wrap up of the books that I read in the first half of June. Like I said, if you like this video, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and also commenting down below with some of the books that you have read so far in June. What have you been enjoying? I love hearing from you all, but that's going to be it. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.